All right, and I am back, and I seem to be in glorious 1080p. In color. Yeah, so I think it was because I had changed it partway through the broadcast, and it didn't like that. So it should be. Let's double check and make sure now that I'm actually on here going. It should be 1080p. Yes, it's still at 1080p. That's excellent. Okay. Funny because it doesn't look, I don't think it looks all that different, actually. I think the quality still looks like crap. I've mentioned this before. Mind you, the background looks better. Maybe it's my focal length. Maybe it's this thing. I think it's the Logitech. Well, it's hard to say. I'm looking at myself on this monitor, on the monitor that has the Talk Studio set up, and on there it's crystal clear. When I look over here at the at the actual YouTube broadcast, it looks very odd still. So I've gone on about this before, but I do like the control that I have on this, so I'm going to keep this for now. And good evening, Terry. How are you? You missed the first segment. There was a couple of technical difficulties, and I had to run out for a moment. So I stopped and I came back. I didn't actually think anybody would be here for this, but I uploaded a video earlier on the situation with my XP Pen tablet, what happened with that, and I did it kind of a sort of a documentary style, and I almost wasn't going to come on here tonight because I had so many issues with resetting up with Talk Studio through Streamlabs, and they didn't like my password, and they wouldn't set up the information properly, and I was almost going to give up. And I decided the last minute, I was still awake, and I thought, you know what, it's finally all done, and I finally have it set up. I'll come on for a little bit and try it. So I had my settings not set properly, so you can't change it. So I stopped, I took a break, and I'm come back. But I was going to try and see, now that I have the XP Pen set up, I thought I'd see if this would work and try a little bit of drawing on it. Yeah, you are up late. I'm normally I'm used to seeing you like usually you're turning in by this point. Usually I'm not even on this late. But I haven't been able to sleep properly the last little while, so I might try a couple of other streams this week. Now that I've got this for another month, I might as well take advantage of it. I really wanted to do something for Halloween, and I still am going to do something for Halloween night. I'm going to do. I tried this last year, and it didn't go over very well. Halloween, I wanted to do like a big production thing, and it came up really fast again this year, and just so many things have been happening that it's like, that's the thing I realized. I thought, oh my God, it's only a week away. So I'll do something that night. I'll bring out the decorations. The frustrating thing is last year I went on for like an hour and a half and nobody watched last Halloween. It was a little bit disheartening because I really wanted to do something for that night. But I don't know. I might try it again this year. It won't be what I wanted it to be. But you got 5 days off. That's nice. That's always nice when you can kind of get a stretch of days off like that. The sad thing is that I every time something doesn't happen, everybody loves to say, well, there's always next year. I tell people, it's like, don't say that. You're cursing me. Every time they say, it's like next year comes and then it just goes wrong again. Because this is like the 4th year in a row that I've tried to do something for Halloween and it just doesn't happen. So I've told people many times, I like Halloween. It does not seem to like me. So if nothing happens, if it keeps doing this, if October keeps turning into shitty months, I'm going to just drop it altogether, because it's no fun when that happens. And I'm kind of tired of it. Every year something happening. But I want to let's see if I can set up the monitor here. Tricked instead of treated. Yeah, that's true. That's a good way of putting it. That's about what it comes down to. Let's see if I can share my screen and if it'll show the right one. Oh, that went up quick. All right. Let's hide some of that. All right. But yeah, even on here, you can see now the, what do you call it? All of the toolbars and everything of the interface look slightly smaller and reduced a little bit because the screen size is bigger. This monitor is now a 24 as opposed to the 22 that I had, which doesn't sound like much. It's only a couple of inches, but you should be surprised what difference that makes. And so hopefully the artwork can still come through on it. But I want to spend a bit of time in November seeing if I can go online more often. I want to do more lives. I want to make more videos, and I know I've been saying that for a while, but I really do. Like I really kind of want to do this, and I have to decide by the end of this year. I have to make a couple of really big decisions, because if it's not happening, if I just keep kicking a dead horse and it's not happening, I have to decide if I really want to keep doing this. I like coming on YouTube. I really do. I like making videos. It's just I get tired of everything working against me, and it wears you down after a while. But we'll see how this goes in the next month or so. Because I also don't. I can't really quit my job. I have to find out what's going on with my apartment building, and there's so many things that are just up in the air, and I'm not getting any answers. I think the frustrating thing about that too, I don't know if anyone else finds this, when you're waiting for information and it's not coming, and you want an answer for something, it seems to be okay for everybody else to take their time in getting that information to you. But if it's the other way around, if somebody's waiting on you, well, and that I find very, what's the word for it? It's not fair. It's not right. And people know you're waiting on something, like, give them an answer, right? So these people took my number, and they know I'm waiting. I don't like that. And I think I'm going to, it's interesting, it was blending this like paint, but it's marker. Interesting. At the end of, about halfway through November, if I haven't heard anything, I'm going to phone them, because I'm getting tired of waiting on other people. This is my life here, right? Like I need to, the point where you need to get some answers. I'm playing with the color blender on, this is Sketchbook Pro. I think I've talked about Sketchbook Pro before. I do like it. It's a very limited program. It doesn't have a lot, but it is, that's why they just call it Sketchbook. It's a very simple program that I think is I wish they added about 2 or 3 more little elements to it, and it would make it just superb. Because I love the tools they have in this. And I think it used to be, they used to charge, then it was free for a while when it was owned by Autodesk. Autodesk they actually had a subscription fee for this for the longest time, for years, but it was really cheap. It was only like 20, 25 bucks a year, Canadian. So it was super cheap, and I didn't mind paying that. Then they went free. Then they dropped it. They decided they weren't going to continue with it. Somebody else bought it and picked it up. They made a few changes to it. One of the things the program used to have was that they had a deal with Copic. As you can see, there's a line of Copic markers that I imported in, but you don't have the Copic color picker anymore, which is unfortunate. But they changed the color program on it, which is still, it's really nice, actually. There's a lot of options that you can have for this, and if you make up certain color palettes, you can save color palettes, etc., which is really nice. And their tools, like their painting tools, feel so authentic. I really like them a lot. The only thing I think it drives me nuts that doesn't have, you cannot stroke or outline a selection, whereas most programs like I use Clip Studio Paint, Photoshop, even Pixelmator that I like using. You can make a line, and then you just click on stroke, and it will outline it. Or if you have a shape, and you select that shape, you can make a line around it just by one click. But this doesn't have that capability. So if I make a line and say I want this, if I want that shape outlined, it can't do it. The best thing I can do is just, whoops, it doesn't even keep it. There's nothing you have to select something, so it has to be there to select it. Maybe it's this one. Oh, it's this one. It still can't, but it still won't do it. So yeah, if I want to, I have to just take a pencil and just kind of outline that if I can. But otherwise, yeah, it doesn't stroke your selection. Few programs do that too. Most programs, just about nearly most of the big popular programs that are for the iPad, won't have that feature, and I don't know why. It's not. I don't think it's a complicated thing to put in, but Procreate doesn't have it. Infinite Painter doesn't have it, strangely, because that's a pretty loaded program. Even Photoshop for iPad does not have it. The only ones I know that do is Clip Studio for iPad and Affinity for iPad. I was just talking about Affinity earlier. Everything will work out. Yeah, I know everything will work out. I just don't know how it's going to work out. So they really are. Programs are odd. This is why I have 3 or 4 of them, is because you have a program and it seems to lack something. So you have another program that will have what you need, but then it will lack something else. So you have 2 or 3 programs to balance out all your needs. Even Photoshop, even though Photoshop is loaded with just about everything you can imagine, I remember the one thing it was lacking was, it wasn't a big thing, but it was a perspective tool that would snap the lines to the vanishing points. This one, what's it called? Sketchbook Pro has a really good 1 and 2 and 3 point perspective tool in here that's amazing. It's actually one of the best I've seen, but it's lacking so many other things. So it's true. It really is true and that's why we have multiple programs. But Photoshop is the one that's almost like 95% complete or more. Hello. MS Paint? No, Microsoft, because that's Microsoft. That's not like an old program. How old is my? Is that? I don't even know if that still exists. Got you. Okay, about to start my day. Where are you? Are you curious? Because I'm up particularly late. I wasn't normally going to be on here doing this, but I've had some issues tonight, and I just decided to do this anyways, despite the fact that it's like almost 2 a.m. But, okay, all right. Only quite a distance. MS Paint is forever. I'm on a Mac, though. So. Is Microsoft Paint? Do they have a version for the Mac? Yeah. And you almost didn't tonight, too. I was almost not going to come on here tonight. But. Oops. Oh, shoot. I just lost it. You can see some of the selections that I've got. There's the Clip Studio. There's Sketchbook. Comic Life, which is really interesting. It just actually lays out comic panels. You can drop in things. You can do photos. You can drop in drawings. Really great at laying out comic book stuff. Pixelmator Pro, which I like, and they just introduced Photomator. I just tried the 7-day trial for it. I really like it. It's kind of its answer to Lightroom. Well, it can't do quite everything that Lightroom did. It is still quite a good program. It's you can do a subscription. It's not very expensive. It's a very low subscription, or just pay $100 outright and you can have it like forever. I'm considering it, but it's more of a to do with adjustments to photographs. The original Pixelmator, which I used to really like, I used to use this all the time, and then they updated the new Pixelmator Pro. This one's become almost kind of obsolete, but I keep it on there anyways. These are my fonts. Curve is kind of it's a vector-based program that's like Illustrator, I guess. They used to be called Vectornator, I think, and then they changed it to now Curve. It's free, and it's a bit of a learning curve though, because vector programs confuses me. It's all about not drawing lines. It's anchor points and that, right? There's 2 animation programs I got here that are free ones. I still can't figure them out for the life of me. And then this is my free trial with Affinity Designer, Infinity Photo, which I talked a bit about earlier. And I absolutely love Affinity Photo. I kind of don't have a need for it now. And the way it does its color layering is obnoxious. Sketchbook, Curve, and Procreate, what I have on my iPad. Yeah. That's a good selection. I think I don't have Curve on the iPad. Definitely have Procreate and Sketchbook, though, for sure. That's the other thing too, is that they used to be for Sketchbook Pro. You couldn't for the longest time. You couldn't cross over. Like if you started on your desktop, you couldn't really continue it on the iPad version. Now I think they're interlocked. Now that it's owned by a new company, and I had to flip out another $25 for it again, but it's not a lot. I figured for that much it's okay, and they've really beefed up the program a bit. So, but I'm hoping they keep adding more. But I was talking a bit about Affinity earlier because a lot of people have been talking about dropping Photoshop because they're tired of paying for Adobe, the outrageous prices. And while Affinity is not at the point, Affinity is not at the point that Photoshop is at all. Because Photoshop now just added a whole bunch of like new stuff to it. That's like there's a reason why it's kind of the industry standard, but Affinity is kind of up there. Like I think if they have enough time to kind of keep working at what they're doing, they can really they could be a good competitor. And they have whoops, did that just pop up? Oh no, it's something else. It's telling me on day 28 for my trial. Did I just lose? Am I still here? I clicked something trying to reset back up, and I thought, I don't know if I'm here. Okay, it actually, I clicked on something and I lost it, so I'll have to. That was really weird. Oh, that scared me for a minute. Okay. I learned design with the Corel 4. Corel is another really good program. I wish I could afford it. It's really expensive. At least I think it's just a one-time payment, though. It's not a subscription model. But yeah, Corel is really nice too. It's really expensive. Affinity, I like Affinity. I went and I clicked on something. At least I'm still here. I thought maybe I'd have to like start it up again. A thing popped up on my screen because it was funny. I was talking about Affinity and it just threw up this message saying you're on day 28 of your trial, or you have 28 days left in your trial. But no, Affinity Photo is kind of their answer to Photoshop, and Affinity Designer is their answer to Illustrator. And then they have a third one that is called Publisher, Affinity Publisher, which I guess if you can make websites on it, you can do book layouts. It's very similar to Pages in on the Mac. And I like Pages a lot. I just don't have a lot of use for it, but I think it's a really great program. I really like it. But I really like Affinity, and I get them. Each program on its own is 95 Canadian, so it'll be less American. And but if you want to get the whole package, it's also 25 for the if you want the iPad version. But the whole package, so it's all three programs for both the desktop and the iPad version, is like $250 for the whole thing, and that's a flat rate. No monthly payments on that. And that's where they're trying to compete with Photoshop, is that they don't do a subscription model. They just give like one flat fee. And people seem to really like it. There's a lot of YouTube channels on people doing demos with it and saying that they left Photoshop to use Affinity. And the only thing I don't like, and I was talking about this in my video before, is that they do the layers backwards. If I have to color in a line drawing, you're used to doing the ink line on top, and then you color underneath. You can set your ink drawing as a I'm forgetting the word again. It's your main level for your ink drawing, and you can set it so that it's a reference layer, and then so that when you color underneath, it'll stay within those lines if you do like a bucket fill. Well, Affinity Photo doesn't do it that way. Like every other program I use does that, but Affinity Photo didn't set it up that way. They want to be different. So they had this thing where the colors go over top, and it throws me right off. And unfortunately, it's a little bit of a deal breaker for me. It's because every other program I'm used to putting color underneath. It's a non-destructive way of doing it, and you can fill it in tightly, properly. Because coloring it on top, it ends up leaving like a little bit of a few pixels of white between the color and the line, and that drives me nuts. And so yeah, it was the only thing that. So unless they change that or have a different way of doing it, I don't need the program anyways. Like, as much as I really do like Affinity, I have no use for it. It's I have everything I need in every other program that I have. I dumped Photoshop, so it's always kind of nice to find something else besides Adobe. But yeah, there's definitely is. Pixels is very different, and I guess I'm still used to doing that. I'm not used to working in vector programs completely yet. See if I can get this set up properly again. Excuse me. Oops, other way around. So yeah, so I don't know if I want to do Clip Studio. I can open it up for a minute. So full HD, 300 DPI, create. There. So I'll see if, and it starts with a blank slate too. It starts with your blank slate and shows you a bottom layer underneath. And I don't like to draw right on the bottom layer. I want to add something to it. I will make as many layers as I need to in order to keep something non-destructive. I am a layer whore. So brushes are also over here, which is very strange. You can move it. You can, if I want to, I can drag that out. I take this right out and I can bring them over here, which I kind of like. I kind of prefer it over here. I can narrow that out just because I'm used to having control over everything on the left-hand side. Widen this a bit. Make a little more room for myself. And it's, apparently you can get lots of drawing tools for the program. It will not use the same ones that Photoshop uses. You can't take tools from Photoshop and put them in Affinity or vice versa. They're a completely different base to them, I guess, in their programming, and you can't share them. Why is that? So just to show you an example really quick. So here's this big thick ink line, right? If I want to color that, I don't know if you can see. So there's this layer. If I want to color that, normally I would add another layer underneath. And if I try to fill that, I'll pick a color like red. It's just going to go bleed out everywhere because it doesn't see this ink line. And that's where you, on every other program, you make this upper layer, which is your ink layer, you would make that a reference so that when I click on this, the color will stay within it, but the color will be on a different level. But now instead what they do, I'm going to move that up. So now this blank one is on the top. It's above this. I go up here because I've selected the bucket. So blend mode normal, source, current, layer, and below. So now if I do it, it fills it in. This is just weird to do it over top like that. I don't like it. And here's the other problem that I haven't been able to fix. If I zoom into this, can you see this right here? That little bit of that drives me nuts. And I don't know how to fix that. These little pixels right here of white, because it's not joining the edge. So if I try to get a paintbrush, if this is underneath the ink drawing, I can keep painting underneath. Let's see if I can select that. But if I try and do this, it goes over top because it's on the top. I don't like it. Like, who thought this was a good idea? And it's so I don't know how to do that. Like, and it's also changed the color on me. Why is it? Oh, I see. Go down here and reverse them. So I can't even fix that. So unless I make a layer underneath, but not like, and it's such a pain in the ass. So if I add a layer underneath, okay, now I can fill that in, but I've had to add this unnecessary layer to do that. Why do they have choose? And this is, I don't know. So, because otherwise, if it wasn't for this issue, this is a great program and would be worth the money. And I'd pick this over Photoshop in a heartbeat. Because it can do a lot of fantastic things. And it's this one little issue, the way they set this up, that is a complete deal breaker for me. Yeah. So I'm going to click out of this. I will open up Clip Studio. Working. Okay. New. So this is the same setup, 16 by 9, 300 DPI. So there's my layers is under here. Let me see if I can move this over, because the layers are just kind of a little lower to the bottom. There. So it already starts with your blank sheet of paper underneath the white and gives you, it starts with your layer on the top. So if I go over to my inker and I got black, and I'll do the same thing again, make a big black circle. All right, Terry, thanks for popping in, saying hi. Appreciate it. You have a good night. We will definitely chat again. I plan some more live streams in the next few days, even though I know I'm working. I might be doing some day streams. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Have a good night, though. It's nice to see you again. Now it's a little bit smaller, but I don't know if you can see here that I have the ink on the top. I've just added a blank layer underneath. And I want to color in this circle. So all I have to do, pick the top layer, which is the ink line, and it's hard to see because it's really small, but this little thing that looks like a lighthouse, if I click on that, that makes this a reference layer. All I have to do then, so now I'm going to fill in the layer underneath. I grab my paint bucket, I'm going to pick some funky color again, and this is the color level. There's nothing here. Boom, and it's done. And I got 2 layers, plus my paper layer there, of course. 2 layers, and it's done. And the nice thing is, too, you zoom in, that gets up really close. There's maybe a tiny, like you'd have to zoom in. It gets really tight before it to see any kind of line in there. But if I want to get rid of any white, right, I'm still on my color level, and now I've just selected my ink pen, I'm on the bucket, I can fill that in. I don't know if you can see that. Let's try and zoom in a little bit more. Because you can see there the white, the little bit of white, I can fill that right in. Because it's going underneath. I'll make the ink line visible. Right. You can see there what I'm doing. But when I put the ink over top, that covers that right up. Because the color is underneath, like every other program. Why, Affinity? Why did you do that? You brilliant, stupid program. So, and the nice thing is, too, like, now that I've got that color, if I want to add, so I can, it's got this nice shadow effect here, right? Now, it's the same color, so I'll say I'll go a little bit darker, and I'm going to increase the brush size. I can go straight on this level if I want, right on the color level, and I can add a nice shadow under that, right? And now that's a little bit destructive because I'm going right on top of that color. If I want to keep it, I'll go back. If I want to keep that, I will add another layer right in between. and then put that shadow on a different level. Thing is, though, now because I'm actually using a physical tool, you can go off of it. It doesn't stay within the reference when you're using a tool. If I used a fill bucket, it will stay within that. But a tool like this, I can't. So the easy thing to do there is I just select it. And I'm not even on the color level here. I'm not even on this level. I'm on the one above it, and it's still selecting that color. So now I grab my airbrush again. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. And you see, I can actually go right off the edge, and it will stay right within that selected area, right? See that? It's within that area. And then I can soften that a little bit as I go. Isn't that nice? That's the way it works. So I do have Procreate. Yes, I do. And I really like it. But again, it's missing a few features that I wish it had. And it's missing about couple of features that drive me batshit crazy. And I've even messaged them and asked them, and they don't get back to you. I know they must get a ton of emails, but yeah, there's a couple of features that would be very nice that I wish they would add that they do not. Better. One thing that most programs are missing for iPad, most iPad programs, except for one or two, does not stroke a selection. And that drives me batshit crazy, especially like, let's say I want to lay out comic panels, but rather than trying to draw them or use the use a tool where you can make the square and then you hold your pen on the pad and then it'll make it a square. Unfortunately, the lines are still kind of uneven and you have to play with those. But if I could make a selection and then just click on stroke a selection or outline a selection, it would do that instantly. The only programs that I know do it for the iPad is, it was Clip Studio for the iPad and Affinity for the iPad will do that. But no other program does that. Even Photoshop for the iPad does not do that. I have no idea why they can't do that, but it's a feature I wish they had. Also things like it won't, the other thing it doesn't have for some strange reason is a gradient. And everybody's asked this. They asked for a gradient tool and they did something different where it makes all the colors fun. But to do a gradient tool like that, they don't have it. You actually have to use a huge brush, a huge airbrush that will, to do it here, say, make a giant brush and then kind of go like that to make a gradient. But don't get me wrong, though. I think it's actually fantastic, and I have a lot of fun with it. And I have sometimes at night when I shut down and I go to my room and I want to keep drawing, I'll take my iPad in with me and I'll open up Photoshop. And I'll keep drawing in Photoshop. Another program that doesn't get nearly enough love is Infinite Painter. And Infinite Painter doesn't stroke selections, but it can. It does do gradient fill. And Sketchbook Pro also does gradient fill on the desktop. Why Procreate won't do that, I don't know. But hey, Big Bad Mama, how you doing? Boy, you're on late tonight too, eh? Everybody's all showing up really late. I was doing a demo here on my new tablet that I had to fork over too much money for. I just put up a 15-minute video outlining the whole thing and what happened. And I did it kind of documentary style. It probably could have been edited down a little bit more than what it was, but I didn't. Editing's a pain in the ass, so I didn't. I got a 15-minute video, and if somebody watches the whole thing, that's great. That's better for me. So, different treatment of data. It is. I understand that too. I just wish they had it. I just wish, man, if they had just those two things, I wish Procreate would add. It's a gradient fill and stroke of selection. It'd be perfect. And that's right too. You're on the West Coast. Mason Valley, no idea. Bad luck has been plagued me and my family since before the internet. I could tell you stories. It just, how I'm still here, I don't know. And people wonder why I suffer from depression. It's just, but look at this, stroking of selection. I love this. I go like this. So you want to lay out a comic book page, right? Or say some comic book panels. I do this and hold the Option key, and it'll make some openings, right? And now I go up to Edit, outline a selection, and I can make, you select your color here that you want. Maybe I better do that first. You have to select the color you want. So we'll just make it black. Edit. Where's an outline selection? We're going to make it 2. I want to just stand it a little bit. So I'll set the line width as 2, and you have the choice of drawing it outside the border, on the border, or inside it. I'm going to put it right on top. I hit OK. Oh, look at that. It outlined the selection. Now I want to get rid of the little marching ants. I hit Command D. I have comic book panels. Ta-da! Like, and most programs for the desktop will have that. Like Photoshop has it, Pixelmator Pro has it, Sketchbook Pro does not have it. I don't know why. Affinity, of course, has it. So most of the desktop ones, but for the iPad, none of them do. So, yeah, imagine. Now, the interesting thing about Clip Studio is if I want to lay out comic book panels, I don't have to do this on Clip Studio Paint. Clip Studio Paint is actually designed for doing comics. It's flipping brilliant. This is the one thing I really like about Clip Studio Paint. Clip Studio, as I always say, programs are funny. You have one program because one has something but missing something, then you use another program to make up for that. Clip Studio doesn't have drop shadows or glow. You have to kind of do all that manually. You have to make it physically and manually and put it in. And I wish they would kind of just throw that in there. It's not that hard. You can just make a little easy drop shadow thing and put it in, but they won't do it. I don't know. But you can do it manually by duplicating a layer, filling it in black, use a Gaussian blur to blur it out, shift it a little bit, then set your opacity, however dark you want the shadow. But look at this on Clip Studio. There's a couple of different ways. I can set up the frames myself like this, and you see how it's changed it like that? It's matting this out. And you'll see that this has made it here. You'll see here, it's matted out around it. You see the black around the little tiny white, so that when you draw, oops, I got to make a layer, drawing layer there. So if I draw, look at that. And you can make as many layers as you need to. You'll make a lot of layers doing this. I'll warn you, it'll be a layer nightmare if you're not used to them. It's crazy layer time. But, I mean, I can do like a rough sketch in here. I don't like that. Oops, oh, come on. Right, you can do your rough like this. I can add another layer above this. Did I just do too many? No. And you'll have to keep track of them. I'm going to fade that one down a little bit, and then go into my inker, use the G pen as they call it, and then you can do a nice ink job with that if you want. All right. And you can add your color layers. And you can see I can go right out here and again, I can make this ink layer a reference layer and put color underneath. You just have to do it for each section here, for each panel. But this is flipping brilliant the way it lays this out. And you can lay out entire comic book pages like this. It's really wonderful that way. Clip Studio is very versatile that way. It also has, I know it has 1 and 2 point perspective features in it that are a little bit messy. Oh, and look at this. Your balloons, if you want, if somebody's saying something, and you can put it in. Now there's a talk balloon, and I just got to find it, but you can add in the, oh, there, tail, balloon tail. And then you just drag it over top. And you can bend it too if you want to bend it around, but this guy just wants to go like that. There it is. It cleans that right in for you. Then you just select your text, and you can put your text right in. You can type it, and that'll make that on another layer as well. It's fantastic. That's why I really like Clip Studio Paint. They were a 1 flat fee, and they sort of are. The way it's really weird, their pricing format. They're still way cheaper than Photoshop, even though it's more confusing. But they do sort of have a subscription kind of. You can pay for the program outright. Then when they go up to the next level, which is usually about a year to 2 years apart, now because they just went up, this is now like Clip Studio version 2. I had to pay another $20 for version 2 to get all the new features. But that's it. It sort of stops there. If I want all the new updates they add through the course of the year, it's another $10 per year. But it's only $10 for the year and $20, like that's $30 as opposed to Photoshop, which was $150 a year. And if you split with somebody, you can have 2 users for one program. You can split. It's like $75 then. But it's still a lot of friggin' money for that. Where this, I don't mind paying, an extra $20 every time they update to the next level of the program, and then get the yearly updates, another $10. I can manage that. It's worth it for this program. It's really good. But that's it in a nutshell. But I'm going to close back out of this. Actually, I'll just close that out. I don't need it. Does anybody want to see anything else? Close it down. And any questions, then feel free to ask. I'm going to quit that one. Pixelmator is kind of a fun one. It's an unusual looking program. It's trying to be something cross between Photoshop and Canva. I really like Canva too. It's expensive, way too expensive for what it is, but I like it. I like the idea of what it is and what it does. I can do some really creative stuff that's built right in. I sort of use the free version of it sometimes for some of my intros, but it's way too damn expensive. Like it's like more than Photoshop, and it doesn't need to be. But Pixelmator Pro, oops, 1 second. I was doing this earlier. It saved it. Let's delete that. Yeah, let's So here you can make things like iPhone backgrounds, posters, and social media banners. You can set up. There's all kinds, and they're now incorporating video. You can do things with video. It's very minor. This is not like an editing suite, but you can just drop in a little bit of short video into something if you want, which is really, I think it's going to expand. Again, this is where I think it's trying to be like Canva. It's trying to build up to that, which would be really nice if it could. They just need to keep adding into it. But you can get logos, you can make resumes. So it's kind of an art program. It's kind of a design program. I think it's trying to be all in one. And I think that's why they have their photo program as something separate. They have Photomator, and that's a completely separate thing. But here I'm just going to go into default and create a default. Now the weird thing is you can customize your layout on this, and I changed it because the default layout to this was backwards, and it drove me nuts because most other programs, just about all of them, always has your layers on the right, and for whatever reason Pixelmator wanted to be different, and they had their layers on the left, and I was like, not doing that. Can I change it? Sure enough, you can customize it, and I switched them around. So now I have all my tools on the left, and I have my my layers on the right. But if you were to buy the program brand new and you're going to try it out, it'll be the other way around. I want to get rid of this. But it does. This also doesn't do reference layers, but at least it doesn't do some funky thing by making them backwards. It just you just have to. No, that's not what I want. That's the Photoshop anchor. So you kind of have to do it by hand, but I think they kind of make it automatic. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't need to set it. So I'll add a layer underneath. So there's my ink up above. Here's my layer underneath. And now if I select my bucket and I'll pick color, I'll pick that weird purple again. Now I'm on the blank layer underneath, and it fit it square in, which is really nice. So it kind of makes it a reference automatically, which is really great. But I don't know if you keep doing that, if it'll keep. So let's see if I'm going to test something here real quick. So let's say I add another layer underneath, and I do it again. Now, if I add a layer underneath that, oh, it's still referred to the layer, so it automatically makes it a reference layer. Interesting. I like it. So, yeah, you can actually do some pretty interesting. I think the only thing is that Pixelmator is only for the Mac. Only for the Mac, unfortunately. There's no Windows version. I don't think they have any plans to. Photomator. If you decide to go in with their suite, and you get Pixelmator and Photomator. Photomator ties right into your photos on the Mac. So you select your pictures right from it, it'll tie it right in. And it looks like the same layout. So if you have a Mac, and if you use iPhoto or just Photos now, I keep calling it iPhoto, but if you use Photos and the edit features, the drop down on the right, when you open that up, if you get Photomator, it looks almost the same, almost identical. It's just beefed up. But again, it'll tie right into your photos. So any changes you make to that picture will change it automatically in iPhoto. So it's synced right across. So warning on that if you ever think of getting that program. And actually look at this too. Again, a little bit of white, but here and there, you can see it more down here. But there's barely nothing. You can do a lot with text in this program as well. So if I had text and let's say I want to make that a gradient, I think the gradient, just say I make it green and you select it. Let's make it to blue. Oops. Should be green. So I think, oops, yeah. So your text is kind of like a vector layer. So I think what you have to do is select it first. Now, if I drop that, at least this is how I know to do it anyways. So there it is. And it also has, and if you come up here, you have all these options: fill, stroke, inner shadow, drop shadow. The only thing it doesn't have is a glow feature, but that might be in something else. It has some weird, funky effects that it can do. Generators and things that it has. Did I lose everybody, or is there people still watching? It's a shame it just didn't have like an outer glow. You can do a stroke and then I think blur it if you want to do that. I think you can do that. If you make it on a separate level, you can do that. But look at that, added it right in. This also strokes the selection. You can do a stroke here, or you can also do it. It's up here, tools. Somewhere I know they do have it. Edit. I know it's in here. I was using it just the other night. I just can't find it. It's in a funny spot. Oh, stroke with brush. There it is. So you select your brush and it will stroke it with the brush you select. So it does have it. And now resets. Oh, no. There's a way you can do it so that it doesn't make the edges look quite as round. It'll sharpen the corners. And there you can have the color pattern. But you can do a lot with this. And there's the drop shadow. The angle you want it. Make that darker, lighter. I see your range, yeah. So yeah, so you can do quite a bit with this. The only thing it doesn't have the capability of is converting it to 3D. You'd have to kind of physically draw that if you wanted to, but you can make this kind of nice drop shadow effect. And I was playing with it a little bit. Let me actually turn the drop shadow off. I'm going to leave the stroke on though. Because you can, where's your transform? You can do a lot with the transform. If you're familiar with desktop, you know how to use a transform. The only thing is, this color is actually over top, right? I can actually turn that off. I don't need that top layer on. This is what I want. So if I have, I think you have to convert it to pixels first. Oh, there's transform. You got all your options for that. It's laid out a little bit differently. And I was playing with it by making a shadow going across this way, but I actually had to make it. Your drop shadow won't do it. You have to. You actually have to make a physical duplication behind it in black. Do a Gaussian blur, and then use your transform to bend it. So you have to do it kind of the long way. But I do like the fact that this does have at least a drop shadow built in. Anyways, that's Pixelmator. Anyways, I've gone on long enough. It is now 2:30. And I think I'm just going to call it here for the night. But thanks for hanging out and joining me in this tonight. I actually had kind of a lot of fun going through that. So in the coming weeks, I want to start doing more art demos, and it'll either be on the tablet or I'm going to do some physical work. I've got a whole bunch of markers just sitting there, and they're not doing anything. And I've got a camera set up over that desk, so I want to start doing some physical work. But I'm even losing my voice now. So you're very welcome, Arcarius. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll definitely. I need to set up a proper plan though. Eventually, like I just need to kind of start doing things right now. And eventually, I want to see if I can get proper fixed days. I had this great idea for Saturdays to do a live stream Saturday afternoons if I can get my ass in gear and get it together. I was going to call it Saturday Afternoon Mad Theater, and where I can do something that's related to movies. So, but I'm still kicking that around in my head. But yeah, hope you have a fantastic day, and hopefully we'll see you again. Thanks again for popping in, and I'm going to call it here for the night. So yeah, Big Bad Mom, I don't know if you're still there, but if you are, thanks for popping in, saying hello, and always nice having you in. We'll have to chat again sometime. So anyways, good night, everybody.